Okay, now it's my turn to introduce myself. I wasn't actually going to be originally emceeing, so I am now going to be speaking to you about the Victorian Active Ageing Partnership Self-Assessment Tool and Resources. Now, this is something that I spoke about at the forum last year, and the development of a self-assessment tool and resources is a project or an initiative within the Victorian Active Ageing Partnership, which has been going on for pretty much 2 years now. It's been quite a long developmental process, but I think that sort of taking that time to develop this tool and to work with service providers to do it has been a very worthwhile process and a very valuable outcome. I'd just like to acknowledge the other partners within the Victorian Active Ageing Partnership Coordination Team, Ben Smith from Monash University and Sydney University, and also Chris Alexander from Fitness Australia. I'd like to also particularly acknowledge my colleague Helen Koutsamanis, who has done a lot of work particularly on this project. So just to remind you, and also for people who may not have heard about this previously, but one of the first things we did in the Victorian Active Ageing Partnership was to do a review of the evidence to find out what were the aspects of workforce and organisations that can particularly influence the engagement of older people in physical activity. Ben Smith from Monash led that piece of work, and apart from what the literature told us, Ben also validated those findings from the literature with a group of service providers at that time. From our literature review that was undertaken, we then developed what we call as our evidence-based best practice framework about the engagement of older people in physical activity. This was based on the literature that looked very much at sort of community-based sort of exercise groups and so on, but I know in showing this framework to lots of different groups, people in the sports industry and so on, that it does ring true to be applicable to lots of different settings. So we're quite pleased with our framework because I think it really is a very nice summary and synthesis of those key factors that can influence the engagement of older people in physical activity. The framework looks at aspects to do with an organisation, it looks at aspects to do with programs, and it looks at aspects to do with leaders or instructors. Now, we weren't going to stop with the framework though. It was always our plan that we would develop a tool from that framework, from that evidence. So this is the sort of the part that really has taken pretty much most of the last 2 years, was to develop what we called as our self-assessment tool and resources. So really the philosophy around the self-assessment tool and resources was that it would be a tool for the use of service providers, and it was sort of designed to prompt reflection and review around what people were currently doing in relation to their programs and activities that they were offering to older people. And it was also a tool that was to be used within a sort of a quality improvement approach. It was really a tool designed to actually for people to use and, you know, just in the course of delivering their projects, but also whenever they're thinking about how could we improve, how could we do things better, or even in times when people might be developing new programs and activities and exactly what might be needed to incorporate in those activities to really make them applicable, appealing and appropriate to older people. Okay, so I'm happy to say that the Victorian Active Ageing Partnership Self-Assessment Tool and Resources is completed and is now ready for use. So as I say, it's been quite a long project. And what we did, one of the last steps in the project is we had a pilot earlier this year, and we had 10 organisations involved in that pilot. And basically we were wanting people to use the tool in situ and just give us really sort of important feedback that was then going to advise the final development of the tool. I need to also say that in the course of that process of developing the tool, we now have 5 versions. And I'll be playing a short video in a moment to explain about those different versions. I'm pleased to say that the feedback from the pilot was very positive, and it really gave us some valuable information, such as the fact that maybe there was just a couple of technical aspects that needed to be fixed, that really probably to use the tool once a year, but over an extended period of time would be the best way to use it. You don't have to use it every week. But also the other message that came back from the pilot sites was that the tool could be used flexibly. We just sort of asked organisations to use the tool, and it was interesting for us to find out in what ways they decided it was best sort of to be used in their sort of organisation and setting. Okay, this is our next technical challenge. We have made, because we want this tool is ready for anyone who wants to go to our self-assessment tool, our Victorian Active Ageing Partnership webpage. You will find information about the tool there now. But we've also made a short video for people to view to find out how to use the tool and to so that you can actually watch the video and then get on with using the tool. So just have a listen to this. It goes for about 6 minutes. Hello and welcome to the Victorian Active Ageing Partnership Self-Assessment Tool and Resources, which was developed with assistance from a working group and overseen by the Victorian Active Ageing Partnership Project Advisory Group. This film will take you through the main version of the tool, which has been developed for community health services, fitness leisure centres and local councils. Other versions of the tool have been developed for University of the Third Age, neighbourhood and community houses, and also state sporting associations. Another version has specifically been tailored for the use of YMCA Victoria's fitness and leisure centres. The layout and format of all the versions is similar, so this film is designed to be viewed by all users, regardless of the version of the tool you will be using. Please also note that when each of the versions is opened, particularly for the first time, there is a message that says security warning, macros have been disabled, and then a box saying enable content. You need to click on the enable content box. This is quite safe to do so, as it is only to do with the formatting of the tool. To get started, you will notice various tabs along the lower edge of the Excel workbook. Let's have a look at each of those tabs. From the front page, we move on to the Introduction tab. Here you will find background information about the self-assessment tool and several tips about using the tool. It is important that you read and consider this information before commencing your use of the tool, as it will help you to be well organised and gain the maximum benefit from the tool. It's strongly recommended that management at your service is either involved in using the tool or is aware that staff are using the tool, as their support will be important for any follow-up actions that are required. Next, we have a user guide, which guides you through the layout and different components of the tool. Again, the user guide is the same across the different versions of the self-assessment tool. Take the time to look through this tab before you start, so you know how to get the most out of your use of the tool. We then come to the 3 main tabs in the tool, focusing on your organisation, your programs and activities, and your leaders or instructors. These 3 sections are in line with the Victorian Active Ageing Partnership's evidence-based framework for the engagement of older people in physical activity. You can work through these tabs consecutively or in any order you decide. It is also important to remember that you do not have to complete the tool all at once. It's recommended that the tool be used by organisations at least once a year and that it be completed over a 4 to 6 week period. This way, people have an opportunity to think about and discuss the responses to the various criteria. Alternatively, one staff member or a small group of staff may initially complete a section of the tool and then discuss their responses with other staff. Again, you can decide what is the best way to use the tool that suits your organisation and setting. Before we look more closely at the 3 main tabs, I'll just point out the tab marked Action Plan. This tab is designed to assist you in planning any follow-up actions that are identified as you work through the tool. So let's now look at the first of the 3 main tabs, that is the Organisations tab. Again, in line with the evidence-based framework, we have our components and key features. With the assistance of the Self-Assessment Tool and Resources Working Group,
We were then able to define criteria to determine how you might identify these key features in practice. You will notice beside the majority of the criteria there is a red hover button. By hovering over each of these buttons, you will be given further background information or explanation in relation to each criterion. To the right of the criterion, you are asked to choose from a drop-down selection as to whether this criterion currently exists at your service. Then moving to the right, you are asked to note down what your organisation is currently doing well in relation to the key feature. This is important as it is always good to stop and think about aspects that are working well or about improvements that have already been made. Next, you are asked to note down what you might need to improve in relation to the key feature. Remember, no one outside your organisation will see your responses here unless you decide to share them with others. So be honest and open in identifying aspects that need improvement or possibly don't currently exist. Even well-functioning organisations and services have things that they could improve or which could be better. If you identify an issue or aspect that requires improvement, move to the Helpful Tips and Resources column and click on the corresponding hyperlink. This will take you to tips, ideas and resources that may assist you in addressing the issue. The list of tips, ideas and resources is not inexhaustible, so if you can't find the help you need here, talk to other staff and even other services to find the assistance you need. The way we have worked across the first key feature of positive ageing is the way you will work across the other key features in the Organisations tab. When you click on the Programs and Leaders tabs, you will see that each of these tabs or worksheets are set out in a similar fashion. Remember not to rush through your responses or your discussion. The process of reflection and review prompted by the use of the self-assessment tool, in addition to the follow-up improvement actions which are taken, are all extremely important in ensuring that we are all offering the best and most appropriate physical activity opportunities for older people. One last thing, you will notice on each of the Organisations, Programs and Leaders tabs, the table is duplicated below. This is to allow you to use the tool and complete the table at your next time of review and still have the previous data available. If you have any queries or problems while using the tool, don't hesitate to contact the Victorian Active Ageing Partnership Coordination Team. The contact details will be on the web page. Thanks for taking the time to listen and watch this video, and good luck.
So that little video is on our webpage. So people, once they start to use the tool, and I'll explain about how that is to happen shortly, watch that video and hopefully it answers all your questions about how to go about it. Rather than talking about how successful the pilot was, there's just a couple of people that I've asked to come and speak about. Disha Doshi from the Caulfield Community Health Service, Mick Murray from Whittlesea U3A, and April Wilson from Gymnastics Victoria, all were involved in the pilot of the tool earlier in the year. So if I could just ask those three to quickly come up on the stage, and they're just going to provide some comments about their experience of the use of the tool. Thanks, Disha.
Just to start with, I'll just give a quick overview of the program that we run at Caulfield Community Health Service. We run 4 different types of classes, including strength training, activate functional independence training, and the walking group now. The program includes 950 participants coming. Majority of them come twice a week, but can come 3 times a week, and CCHS as a part of Alfred Health. We go through the National Safety and Quality Health Service accreditation process every 3 years, but that process is whole related to public hospital or the community sector. So it's not quite specific to the physical activity program. So when Jane approached us for the piloting the study, we just took this on board. We had a team approach. Team of 5 filled out the tool individually, and then in one meeting we sort of discussed the response from everyone and collated the data after that. The discussion and the action plan was a good step as well, and then we are into the implementation phase of our action plan. The feedback from us is the step to the second meeting of the sort of collating the individual responses was a great exercise that depending on the level of the knowledge of the program and the role and the length of service in the area, we all had a different knowledge about the policies and procedures in the same organization that we all worked. So it was a really good experience to sort of share the knowledge or increase our knowledge about the organization. The major change that prompted us from the action plan point of view was to follow up on the participants at the leaders level. We had policies in place that we followed up on our non-attendance from the admin point of view, but not from the personal. We never had that personal touch that the instructor would give a call or follow up when they attend the class. So that was a good outcome, I guess. We thought it was not just the assessment tool, but it was a reflection tool as well, because it gave us opportunity to sort of think back on what we do, why do we do it, and is it working well for us or not. The other thing that came out is it took the personality differences out of the delivery process of the program, because we sort of all had to work towards one standard, so it was same for all the instructor who led the groups. So we're planning to use it annually or after any major changes that we put on in the program. Will be good to compare the results every year and see how we are going. So if certain aspects of service delivery, we are not meeting as yet, probably we'll keep that in mind and we'll work on it for the next year. And would be good resource for the new team member just to see what are the standards that is expected of the program and from the organization. We also used this tool with one of the organizations that we work with for strength training program of the city of Glenara. We provide support to run their social support group, and we had to revise their program after 8 years of the first consultation. So we use this tool to understand what their needs are at this stage. It helped us to gain the support from their team members and to drive the action, and that's the feedback that we have received from their managers. So we have quite successfully done it, and very proud that we took the pilot on board as well. Thank you.
Mick, could I ask you to say a few words on behalf of Whittlesea U3A?
Firstly, thank you for the invitation. I'd like to acknowledge our partners in this venture and for the handing over, not awarding U3A the baton to Whittlesea U3A to follow on the project that started. Our partners are really important to us. We have 18 odd partners or supporters, but the ones for this project was the City of Whittlesea, but also Melbourne City Football Club, the soccer club that's represented out in the other room. Work very, very closely with us. The other common theme for us, we've got 770 members as we speak. Within the 100 odd activities we conduct weekly, there are 31 that are sort of active, so to speak. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. But the common denominator was choosing the leader to do the initial evaluation. We chose one guy, an Irish guy with a big Irish accent. But Jerry endeared himself to all the multicultural members of our walking football group, 40 odd of them, and a mix of males and females. So it was really a mixed group of people, some with no soccer skills, some with soccer skills, some competitive, some just there for the exercise, some just there for the outing, the social event that occurred afterwards. So Jerry was really important. The TLC he offered to participants for the walking program was unbelievable. And and without that person being involved, it wouldn't have succeeded like it did. It's easy. The tour's really easy, but the support of the organisation and my support to Jerry was very important and shouldn't be overlooked at all. But there's also potential, in my view, to use it in other activities. Some of our academic work could use the tool for evaluation. In July just past, together with my secretary and with an independent facilitator, we ran a targeted 3 yards. Okay? Reflection, review, renewal. Sorry, Michael, I'm picking over thing. And that was on the basis of the tool. We called it a different name, didn't mention the tool, sorry, Jen. But yeah, and again, the outcomes from that will benefit the organisation greatly. So visit us. I've got a whole lot of things. Jen, there's your stress ball, mate. That's a co-branded stress ball. Whittlesea Youth AA and Melbourne City Football Club. Use it and enjoy it. And I do have a few others. If you want to come and see me.
Good on you, Mick. Thank you. It was delightful dealing with Mick and Glenn and Jerry at Whittlesea Youth 3A during the pilot, so that was great. Thank you very much, Mick. And look, that's a good point. You know, if the tool can be used to help you and help you review and reflect on other activities, well and good. I'd like to ask April Wilson from Gymnastics Victoria to say a couple of words.
Thank you so much. What a fantastic turnout today. So my name is April and I'm the Inclusion and Programs Manager at Gymnastics Victoria. Earlier this year, Gymnastics Victoria and myself were approached by the Victorian Active Ageing Partnership to pilot the self-assessment tool and resources for engaging older adults in physical activity. So many of the state sport associations are now modifying programs which traditionally target youth and adult participation to cater for older adults. Gymnastics Victoria is no exception, with a focus on engaging both less active and active older adults in a traditionally youth-focused sport. And I know that there are some community perceptions around gymnastics, but I assure you that our program for older adults does not involve leotards, the splits, or backflips, anything of that nature. So for some context, the program that we evaluated is our Move for Life program, which is a gymnastics-based fitness program for older adults aged 55 and above. It's a fun and social opportunity that utilises simple, low-impact exercises to improve functional mobility, strength and coordination. And really, the whole aim of the program is to develop skills that can be used in everyday life. So whether it's being able to walk up and down the stairs independently, hang out the washing or play with the grandchildren, this is what we focus on. It also has a bit of a novelty factor using gymnastics equipment, things like hula hoops, scarves, ribbons and balls, to challenge and engage participants in a way that's perhaps a little bit more interesting and creative than walking on a treadmill or other traditional exercises. Okay, so I did use the tool in isolation. My experience of using it was overwhelmingly positive. I utilised it approximately 4 times over a period of 4 to 6 weeks, and I found that commenting on the criteria within the tool in a staged approach allowed me to reflect better on the program and more comprehensively than if I'd completed it all in one sitting. The tool touches on a range of program elements, taking into consideration the entire lifespan of your program, from the design through to the implementation stage, which is really important when you're trying to build a successful program and one which meets the needs of the community. So as a result of completing the pilot program, Gymnastics Victoria had concluded that our key areas of improvement were formalising relationships with our partner organisations, updating our education for deliverers with new resources, and most importantly, including older adults in consultation process. The format of the tool allowed us to have our improvements easily translated into an action plan, with the actions then to be delegated throughout the organisation. So moving forwards, we will utilise the tool as part of our annual review process for our planning. I would strongly recommend for other organisations to use the tool regularly, particularly when introducing a new program, but also to inform the design process, implementation and evaluation. Thank you.
Thanks very much, April. So this is your chance to use the tool. We are now asking people, organisations, to become registered users of the tool. Now, that might sound slightly daunting, but it's not. The reason why we're asking people to become a registered user, or organisations to become registered users, is just so we can basically track who is using the tool. So, as I said before, on our website, on the web page at the moment, it's up there now. It's got the details about how you become a registered user. Basically, we want to know the name of your organisation. We want the names and contact details of 2 people. We want to know what local government you're based in. That's all we're wanting. We have already got a list up there of about 12 organisations who were involved in the pilot and also want to become registered users. I've also had people just ring out of the blue recently saying, when is that tool ready for use? So we've got a couple of people we've already started our list of registered users. The list of registered users will be up on the web page, just with the organisation, the type of organisation it is, and also the local government area. We won't be putting up people's names and contact details on the web page. So there's really no reason not to use the tool. If you're involved in delivering physical activity programs, group-based exercise, sporting activities for older people, I strongly suggest you have a look at the tool and become a registered user. The video is up there to tell you how to use it if you need another look through that video. It's pretty simple, and we feel very happy and think it will be a great tool for everyone. If anyone's got any questions about it, don't hesitate to get in contact with us, with the Victorian Active Ageing Partnership Coordination Team.